Are we continuously creating creative liars in our organization? A lot of people have this misconception that army officers are not empathetic. We are one of the most empathetic leaders around because we are trained to care for our people. No matter how hard HR does, that it is confidential, people still cannot trust because there's no trust. You need to trust your people who are there out there in the street talking to your clients. You can't get solid data by sitting in the air-conditioned office and doing a research on AI. No, you won't. AI do all the work for us. So what do human beings do? Sit down, have coffee and have conversation about the future. Creativity and innovation only happens when you're having fun, not when you're talking about problems. Accept the fact that the young one know more than you. The word know comes from knowledge. Knowledge is everywhere now. This is the human colony in Mars. You know what they discussing? Same problem we are discussing on Earth now. We don't want followers. We want thinking leaders at every generation because we don't want to have a generation of zombies in the years to come.
Cool. So today I'm interviewing Captain Shan. He's a coach. He's a certified coach, actually, IAC. He's also a master facilitator from the IAF. I don't know if we'll go through all those letters, but I'll definitely ask you about those frameworks. He equips leaders to drive future-ready leadership and build empowered teams. He's the distinguished recipient of the HR Ministers Award at the HRD Awards 2025. He's the author of Coaching with RESPECT, Respect, and his book explored human-centered empathetic coaching. He's also the CEO of Team Coach, a company that he runs with quite a few coaches, I think, and facilitators. And he started his career in the army, and that's what's giving you the captain name as on top of the doctor. So maybe we can start there. Can you tell us about why the army is stuck? And maybe the biggest contradiction or paradox, how do you do empowered teams? How do you do empathetic leadership coming from the army? It sounds like two things that clashes, but maybe it's just me not knowing the army enough.
Yeah, I think that a lot of people have this misconception that army officers are not empathetic. I think we are one of the most empathetic leaders around because we are trained to care for our people. We are trained to care for our team members and to stick by each other. You know, I could be an officer, but I still hug and cry with my troop members, and I cook for my troop sometimes and in projects. So it doesn't matter whether I'm off. As an officer, yes, I'm accountable, I'm responsible, and I lead my team. But at the same time, we all are still humans. Before I knew about servant leadership, I think that's where actually I demonstrated or practiced servant leadership. That was in the army, that I'm there to serve my people. I'm there to serve my troop. I'm there to serve my nation. So the mentality or the mindset of serving was instilled. Yes, of course, when we are on mission-oriented, we give orders and we expect the troop members to follow the orders. But the thing is, there's a lot of work has been done already. The trust, the respect, and all has been built before incidences occur, before that we go into a campaign, before we go into a project. So when the time comes, that we in a mission, we don't ask questions. We trust the leader. We respect the leader. But all this is built beforehand. And that's why we say that what does the military do in peacetime? We train for war. And the training is about getting the comradeship. We get to know each other. I mean, it is a big family. And again, people ask me about, I thought the army, you just give orders. Where's there space for coaching and facilitation? Look, one of the terms that is used before a battle plan is called appreciative inquiry, doing an appreciation. And in the modern facilitation world, there's a term called appreciative inquiry. So when you talk about appreciation, it's appreciating the ground, appreciating what you have, the resources that you have, because the higher you are, you might not have the pulse on the ground. And that's why you need to trust the data from your soldiers. I mean, that's what's happening in the corporate world. You need to trust your people who are there out there in the street talking to your clients. You can't get solid data by sitting in the air-conditioned office and doing a research on AI. No, you won't. So coming back to your question, I learned a lot about coaching and facilitation, although the terms were not really introduced in the army. I've done my research, and there are a lot of armed forces, the US Army, the British, the United Kingdom, UK, the Indian Armed Forces, Australian Army, they all have got coaching programs in their leadership courses.
So it's a misconception. The root of me joking about it, it's a total misconception.
Yeah,
Yes.
but it's good to go. Thank you for asking. At least I can explain.
Yeah, sounds good. What's the percentage of time you spend building trust and building camaraderie or building the strengths of the team? And how much time do you spend in incidents or crisis when you're in the military?
If I talk about in the 80s when I joined the military, we still had some form of threat from the Malaysian Communist Party and all that, but not that was ongoing. But I think, Matty, building trust and respect is every time, every moment, because you can lose trust in a second. And I don't think, this is my perception, right? I don't think that you build the trust first and then you go into a mission or in a crisis and then you forget about building trust. No. You're building the trust continuously at every moment, every second. And then you're in a crisis situation. And that's where you really, really going to demonstrate building trust. And building trust and respect is not about demanding it. You gain respect the way you make decisions, the way you are inclusive, the way you respect each other during a crisis. That's more powerful building trust and respect than before any crisis. So people are watching you during crisis. How are you handling yourself? How are you leading by example? How are you interacting? How are you respecting? How are you being inclusive? So I don't think there's no. I build the trust, okay, and then everything is fine. No, it's continuous every time, on duty or off duty.
It was a leading question, actually. I was wondering whether today, basically, it always feels like a treadmill. You're always in the rat race of adding more value in the corporate world. It's very rare that we take retreats, very rare that we can step back and do deep work. You have to not fight, but you have to make a real effort in order to carve that time for either leadership, strategy, deep work on specific programs, discover new tools, for instance, for AI. So almost I was going to ask you, so if it's 80% on the building trust and 20% in the army, which I was hoping for such an answer, I would have asked you, how do you make sure that corporate today, your clients and the people you work with, do carve out the time for that building the trust instead of just going into full continuous delivery without ever breathing and building the trust?
Number one is at every moment of time, you're talking about the context of corporate, right? In organizations, let's say even in my organization, I've led a global organization. I have been the global president for International Association of Coaching. I was the founding president of the Malaysian Association of Facilitators. I've been around for 15 years. And of course, my own organization. And I always say to people, if you want to learn about leadership, lead an NGO where you're not paying them the salary, they're all volunteers. And I learned a lot while I was leading the International Association of Coaching globally. Now, it is about you continuously realizing consciously how is the team or organization is benefiting from you. Meaning your intention in everything that you say, in everything that you believe in, and everything that you demonstrate through your actions, or sometimes even without saying anything. The intention is very important. Are people feeling safe and feeling important when you are there? Are people feeling, I always say emotions travel faster than words. Are people feeling that whatever you're doing is not about you? You're not being self-centered. It's not your agenda, but it's the people's agenda. How much do people feel that you're there for them? You might have all the ability, but what about the availability for them? So they need to feel that. So building trust is about constantly asking yourself how much of self-orientation. And that's a great formula, building trust. And it is from the Trust Advisor book. And it talks about you build trust by either improve your credibility, reliability, and intimacy. And it's a mathematical equation actually, divided by self-orientation. So the larger the denominator, self-orientation, the trust level goes down. Yes, you can build your credibility, reliability, and intimacy. It takes a longer time. In my own experience, it takes a longer time to build that. But the minute you lower down your self-orientation, people can feel it's not about you. You are there for them. That trust should start. That's the easiest, fastest way. I got a dramatic story for that. But in the army, how I build trust. But it's as simple as that, but it's not simply said, but it's difficult, Please also remember when I say about self-orientation, it doesn't mean that you don't have self-care. Self-care is important. Looking after yourself, your emotional health, and your spiritual health, that's important. But here what I mean by self-orientation is, are you self-centered? Is everything about you? You think the earth going around the sun or the sun going around the moon or whatever, it's all because of you. Then people are going to say, now, they'll probably respect you. We call it ceremonial respect. They respect your chair, but not you as a human being.
Tell me the story.
Okay. I was an instructor in the Royal Engineer School. And as an instructor in the Royal Engineers, we are combat engineers. We deal with explosives. We deal with the bridging commander and all that. As an instructor, we are strict because we are playing with life. We always say we need to be very strict in the training room or the training field before we go into the mission. And if you're an instructor, you're always seen as people are a bit worried about you because you pass or fail these people. So you give marks. So they always treat you differently. If you think respect is there, nah, not really. They're respecting you because you're an instructor, not they respect you as a human. But also, we all try to be as human as possible, right? So anyway, I spent about 3-4 years in the Royal Engineer School. And then I was posted to an operational unit. So the minute I went to the operational unit, I could sense people, there were a lot of soldiers and officers who were my students. I could sense the way they're treating me is just like an instructor. So I knew that the trust or the respect is not genuine, it's not authentic. I could sense it. And people are not really sharing with me, although I was a true commander and I had about 40 people under me, and I could feel it. But anyway, I was just praying and I said, how can I remove that instructor image? And I'm your leader now. I'm your true commander now. I'm in an operational unit, right? Even before I left, there's one of the soldiers who were in my course. He said, "Sir, I heard you have been posted to 6th Royal Engineer Squadron." And I said, "Yes, welcome to the 6th Royal Engineer Squadron." The tone was like, in what I perceived was, "Oh, you can be all mighty and great as an instructor. Come, I'll see you in the operational squadron." And this coming from a very senior private soldier. And I said, "Oh my God." So anyway, once I went, then I could sense it. And then about 4-5 months into my leadership role, we were given a task to go and clear unexploded bombs in a firing range up north in Malaysia. And I had about 6 people with me, my section, and then we went there because the infantry, they will always go and do live firing, practice in the range. They'll march and they fire, and also the Air Force and the artillery, they practice in the same ground. And some bombs might not explode because due to whatever. So they might find UXVs, unexploded bombs, on the ground. So the infantry, while they're marching forward, if they see a bomb, they will, on the signal set, they will radio my section and say, "Oh, there's a bomb not exploded." And we'll go there and then we look at it. We don't touch it, but we blow the bomb on C2. Now, sometimes most of the bombs, after rain and shine, they have been disturbed by the soil and all that. So it's pretty safe in that sense because it's been moved. But one of those incidences, there was just a fresh mortar bomb, high explosive mortar bomb. And I think the killing range is about 25 to 50 meters if it explodes. And it was just fresh. So the infantry didn't tell me that it was a bomb fired from their mortar, but did not explode. And we thought it was just like an old bomb, right? And my role as an officer was to ensure safety. My troop will do all that, and my section will do all the fixing of the explosives and charge it and explode it. And my role is to observe and ensure safety. But since this was a fresh bomb, even a slight movement can make the bomb explode. And I said, I had my heart pumping, and it was already coming to 4-5 days in the field. And I was about to go on leave because my wife was supposed to deliver our first daughter, immediately after that exercise. And then I went there and I said, and my heart was saying, "Oh my God, this is a fresh one. I don't want my soldiers to do it. I want to do it." And I told my sergeant, I said, "Sergeant, you don't do this. I will do it." And he said, "No, sir. Your wife is expecting your first child, and I don't think that you should be doing this." I said, "No, I insist. I think your children have seen your face. My first child have not seen my face yet. I'm going to do it." And I'm going to do it. Stay back. And although they tried to stop me, I said no. So in the army, we got all these taboos, and I didn't believe it. For me, if God wanted to take me, because I didn't want my soldiers to be anything happen to them. So I did that. I did it, and thank God it was safely demolished. And then I went back to the unit. I went back, I came my wife's delivery. And after I came back from my leave, I could see something changing. People were more friendly. The behavior of my soldiers was a bit different. I think the word went around that I did that last crucial bomb disposal. And because I said things like, "I don't want to be answerable to your children and your family," and things like that. So they saw that I actually did that work myself and did not just stand there as an officer and looked just at safety. But then years after that, when I was introduced to this trust formula, when I went into the corporate world, I said, "Hey, makes sense. Less of me, more of you. Not my agenda, your agenda. And it helps us to build the trust. So that's the story. And of course, some of the officers, my colleagues, my peers, oh, Shan, I heard this story about you becoming a hero. And I said nothing about hero. And I joked, you know what? If anything happened to the soldiers, you know the kind of report I have to write? A lot of pages. So I rather they write the report if I'm dead.
That's funny.
So anyway, there was some truth in that. But anyway, so yeah, and when I aligned it to the trust formula, and I say, hey, yeah, it's
Self-orientation.
yeah. So that's the story, Mary.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. There's one thing about the intro that we made earlier. You talked about IAF and then
Yes.
IAC. Can you tell us why those two organizations are important and why do you feel like it's important to share?
Okay, let me talk about the International Association of Facilitators. We've been around for more than 20 over years. And in Malaysia, it's about 20 years plus as well. The IAF promotes facilitation competencies. When we talk about facilitation, a lot, even in the country or even regionally when I travel, the minute you say you're a facilitator, the first question they ask, what subjects do you teach? Facilitation is not about teaching. Facilitation, you're the custodian of the process, not the content. So a simple definition of facilitation is aligning a team to make effective decisions, period. You don't have to be a content expert. You just have to be a process expert. So there are various competencies, how you actually contract with your client, find out, just like need analysis, right? In training, and find out what do they actually want to achieve. And then you design the process, which facilitation process, facilitator method, and tools that you want to use to ensure that the organization gets the outcome. And brainstorming, for example, is only one of the two. The way we design facilitation process is by putting in tools to inspire divergent thinking and also tools for convergent thinking. What it means, divergent thinking is coming up with all the ideas, and convergent thinking is choosing the right idea. Now, in organizations, again, this is my personal opinion, I've seen some cases where we spend a lot of time in the divergent thinking, coming up with all kind of ideas, blah, 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 and then we select, we cluster them, and we make decisions. We converge very fast. We don't spend enough time having meaningful conversations in the convergent phase. And sometimes, this is by Sam Kenna in his model called the diamond of participatory model, where the divergent goes on, and sometime in between, before the convergent happens, he calls it the grown area or the merging area, where people are beginning to misalign themselves, hold on to their own ideas, don't want to agree, and this is what we call the grown zone. And there are tools that we can employ as a process facilitator to navigate that turbulent times so that we bring the team to align the team to come into convergence. So the International Association of Facilitators certify facilitators. They have introduced the 5 groups of, 6 competencies, grouping, and then you to be certified, you will be assessed in all these competencies. And for me, I always say, and I've been saying this all the time to very senior leaders, look, number one, accept the fact that the young one know more than you. Some senior leaders say, Shan, how come you say that? How come the young ones know more than me? I say the word know comes from knowledge. Knowledge is everywhere now. So you as a very senior, maybe you're the 5 series or 6 series, please accept the fact the young ones can get all the knowledge they want. They don't need you actually. But what they need you for as a mentor, sharing experiences, what works for you, what does not work for you. What does not work for you might not fit into their life. It might just work for them. So don't judge them from your own experience. Because your own experience is like, different people, different setting, different timeline, different technology. I like to suggest leaders need to be more facilitative in the nature. You are the guardian of the values of your organization. You're the guardian. You got all the wisdom because of your experience. And use all that and mentor the young ones and coach the young ones. So process facilitation tools give you that additional tool in your leadership toolkit for you to be more facilitative in nature. Now, that does not mean you can't be directive, you can't be assertive, you can't give strong feedbacks. That still stays. That still stays. It's not that every time you want to have a conversation to come up with ideas. Oh, fire in the basement. Okay, guys, let's get together in the boardroom and discuss how to put out the fire. How many options do we have? Oh, no, you'll be probably be dead by the time you come for any answers, right? There are times to be assertive. I mean, it's situational, right? But most of the time, I feel that we need to be facilitative leaders, engage everybody with the intention, very important, with the intention of getting the ideas. You'll never know. Sometimes we say that, yeah, we're very inclusive. Let's get everybody together. Great ideas coming up. It's okay. Thank you very much. I'll decide. Then don't have the meetings. Don't have those kind of conversations. You're demoralizing people.
Can I ask you, why do you think that the converging is not taking so much, like people don't spend that much time in converging? And why the middle, the risky middle, why is this one not more invested? The assumption that I have is everything takes a lot of time. We never have enough time. And by the time you get to the end of the brainstorming or the diverging, there's not enough more time. So you just rush to the end. Is that the reason why, or do you think it's more profound?
Yeah, because it's not been planned, not been designed. People do not know how to design the process to have meaningful conversation. And you can expect, because, why people, like if you talk about Tatman's model, the storming stage in teams happens, that's what something like the growth zone, is because I don't agree with you or you don't agree with me. And that's okay. If I can tell you, Matthew, you know what, Matthew, what you just said, I don't agree with you. If I'm able to say that, that means there is a form of trust and respect there. You have given me the perception it's safe for me to share what I think and what I feel with you. So conflict is good. Once that has happened, there are processes where we can align the group. Correct? And it's not only because of time, it's because people do not know how to have a good conversation. And with AI tools nowadays, that human to human connection and having meaningful conversation, the gap is getting wider and wider. And that's why I always say leaders has to be coaches too. And that's why, coming back to your question again, the International Association of Coaching. We got 9 masteries. We call it masteries. It's the way of being that this doing is about. It's not about doing coaching, but it's about who you are when you're doing the coaching. It's who you are as a person and the person in front of you when you're coaching, right? So the International Association of Coaching, again, has been around for 50 years and founded by this guy called Thomas Leonard. And I brought in the IAC into Malaysia about 15 years ago. And because I just fell in love with the masteries, universal values. So coaching, it can be one-on-one or you can also be a team coach. But they are all enabling processes. Process facilitation, coaching, they all are enablers. They're not directive. You talk about training, consultancy, learning facilitator, mentoring. Mentoring could be 50-50. There is some directiveness and there's also enabling. When I say directive, means it's content heavy, like a teacher, a lecturer, content heavy. But when you come to coaching and process facilitation, no content at all. You don't even have to be a subject matter expert. Like, Matty, if I ask you, what is your forte? What are you an expert in what? Yeah, any area?
I'd struggle, but I think partnerships, go-to-market.
Markets? Okay, let's say marketing.
Go-to-market.
Okay, you're a marketer. And you know what? If you're a coach, you can coach a NASA scientist. If you're a coach, you can coach a medical specialist. You do not have to be a subject matter expert. You just need to be the process expert. I facilitated oil and gas teams. I facilitated medical professionals. You ask me how much I know about oil and gas, I probably don't even remember the price of oil and gas now. But you don't have to be a subject matter expert. You probably need to understand the context, what your client wants, but designing the process, that's more important.
Got it. I think you spoke about diverging and converging. You didn't include trust. I wonder whether it's because you talked about it at the beginning of our conversation, so you didn't feel like you wanted to repeat this. But is there, in the facilitation work that you do, also this more emotional and relationship building process that you use to coach and facilitate within your practice?
Yes, I've experienced where in teams where people don't trust each other, coming together to look for some decision, teams that work in silo, trying to come together and having a session, me facilitating the session, and to come out with, to achieve the outcome the stakeholders want. Yes. And that's why in the tools, in the beginning, like in the Internationalization of Facilitators, at the beginning itself, it's about how do we actually build the rapport and create psychological safety in the environment we are going to facilitate. There are small activities. Icebreakers is one of them, but there are different activities we can choose from where we can actually build even before the facilitation work starts. So, for example, contracting. with the stakeholders is very, very important. Sometimes the stakeholders are not sure, is that what they really want? And the participants need to know what they are there for. And sometimes participants come into the meeting or the workshop, don't know what they are there for. The minute they do not know what they're there for, what's their purpose, psychological safety is not there. So there are activities to establish that. And then, yes, doesn't mean that I got to, maybe you're from a different department, I'm from a different department, you got your own department agenda, I got my department agenda. But the design should bring together both of our departments to realize what is the ultimate goal of the organization, to create that awareness and that realization. How are we adding value? There are instances where I also ask Department A, how are you adding value to Department B? Department B, what kind of help you need from Department A? And if we are not having conversations, meaningful conversations, nothing will happen. And there's a quote, the quality of organizational system and processes is determined by the quality of relationship. And the quality of relationship is determined by the quality of conversation. You tell me, what's the quality of conversation in our boardrooms now? This is by a coaching psychologist from Sydney University. And what is the quality of conversation? Do I want to listen to you? No. Do I want to listen to reply you, or do I want to listen to understand what you really want? So once that is not there, relationship, you can't build relationship. If there's no relationship, forget about your futuristic system and processes and all that. It might work, but you're wasting time. My opinion.
Talking about, well, you spoke about trust, and I think one of the things you said during the explanation was have people share. You talked about it in the context of conflict, like if someone shares that they disagree, then you have a form of trust. I come from a culture that is a bit direct, a bit too assertive sometimes, a bit, you would say, harsh. It's French culture. In Malaysia and in Asia in general, not just Malaysia, I feel there's way more diplomacy, way more softness. And you can see the benefits of it is more harmony, I would say. The negative of it is maybe less sharing when there's conflict, maybe less putting things on the table. You might have indirect channels to express problems. How do you do in order to enable more sharing? Because you start from a baseline that is less. And I feel like I don't know what the root cause is. So maybe what do you think are the root causes and how are you addressing them?
I think number one is, I feel that in Malaysia, I've seen, and also Thailand, which I recently have been talking. People are opening up. People are saying what they feel like saying. I think not all organizations. Some people say that the public service or the government. No, I've worked with teams where the leaders have encouraged open dialogue. I think it's all bogged down to how leaders create the culture in the environment. It can be the team environment or in the larger scale. Working with multinationals, some multinationals, they're very, very open, very, very bold. The young ones also, right? Yes, in some Asian contexts, like I'm not just talking about Malaysia, there are sometimes the younger ones might bring out ideas, but they bring out the idea with, if I can call it, with respect, not to be assertive, but with respect to the senior people. In Malay, we call it adab, A-D-A-B, adab. Yes, I can say, Matty, if you're senior to me, I will not just call, Matty, I don't think I agree with you, Matty. I think you should be blah, blah. I would say in a more polite way, sir, I don't think that I agree with you, sir. If you can allow me to express what I feel, this is what I feel. And it all boils back, the root cause, all boils back to the leader. What kind of culture do they want? If they want to just to listen to things that they like to listen to, then I think the team members will tell them what he likes to listen to. And guess what? It's going to be full of, if I can say this word, rubbish. They'll just give you data which is corrupted because they just want to please you. They just want to tell you what you like to listen. And so if the data is corrupted coming from the ground, and here we are sitting in, 15-story, 20-story building in the headquarters and then trying to make strategic plan, do you think it'll work? Because the information coming is not true. And sometimes when people voice out what they feel or think and all that, and they get shut down. Because, again, coming back to leaders, because they feel threatened when the team members speak out the truth. My truth always hurts. And however you want to put it, truth is the truth. And people become defensive. When you become defensive, I think people are not going to talk the truth. And sometimes, you know what I ask leaders? I ask them this question. Are we continuously creating creative liars in our organization? A lot of processes and system, are they actually telling us the truth? Until now, online engagement survey or whatever survey, how truthful is it? 360. No matter how hard HR directors or HR tells me, even how hard they try to tell people that it is confidential, people still cannot trust because there's no trust. Because one is introducing all these tools so that to be very inclusive. I want to listen to all your ideas, but at the same time, your behaviors, leaders at every level, they're not demonstrating that they actually welcome your idea. There's two things. Or just because it's best practice around the globe, we got all these tools, fantastic. We put all that in. But what about in everyday life? Are we demonstrating the right behaviors to show that I'm not biased? Tell me the truth. Let's work this together. We are all in this together. Rather than pulling the team, facilitate conversation, have meaningful conversation. Yeah, just earlier I forgot the guy who talked about this. It is Professor Michael Kavanagh from Sydney University. He's a coaching psychologist. He's the one who talks about quality of systems and quality of relationship and quality of conversation. So tools like coaching and facilitation actually encourages us to have meaningful conversation. So in the divergent process, there'll be meaningful conversation, and then we go into the space where people are getting anxious or they feel that their ideas have been lost and all that. But if you have created the purpose of the meeting, the workshop correctly, and people know why they are there and why they are there to add value to the conversation, I think you can minimize the feeling of mistrust and all that. And then when we go into the convergent mode, yes, we still, because we have established at every stage that your thoughts are important. And this is why, before even you start the workshop, to ask them, what is the way of being? Sometimes they call it workshop rules or whatever. I don't like rules. We are governed by too many rules. I always said, hey, let's talk about what's the way of being? What are the behaviors we need to demonstrate to ensure that the workshop is successful? And to be specific in what behaviors we need to demonstrate. So that's sort of getting that understanding. We as a leader in front, look, we need to demonstrate the same thing as well. So.
I love it. I was thinking about IAF and IAC as two organizations that are very critical for HR people to know that they are mostly who we talk to. And with AI, I was talking with a lady this morning. She's doing mostly workforce administration and she's automating her own job at the moment. So she knows that the capacity needed for humans to do these jobs of downloading data, uploading data, messaging data soon will not be necessary because everything is going to be piped better. Yeah. And actually, our company works towards this. So I was talking to her. My belief is that people will need to be more and more into human social engineering, human engineering. And I think that coaching and facilitation are probably things that are going to be developed more and more as people need to be less and less doing data admin tedious work. Do you agree with that? And maybe can you tell us about the cost of those organizations for HR people who are like upskilling in those areas? And is there business once you sign up for those and get certified? How easy is it to find clients and find projects when you sign up?
Oh, okay. Yes. Coming back, for me, those are futuristic tools. Again, coming back to that, what we humans are good at or must be good at is having those meaningful conversations. Yeah. So these are the tools. Now, if you're talking about how much it costs to be certified,
yeah,
what you say? Okay, like in our organization, Team Coach International, let's talk about the IF facilitation. Currently, we are the only one in Southeast Asia where our program has been endorsed as a internationalization of facilitators training program. Basically, number one in South Asia and one of the 4 schools in Asia. It costs about, you have this Human Resource Development Fund where it's totally claimable. It comes to about, I think it's about plus the tax, blah, blah. It's about 10,500 for 6 days over 2 months. And coaching is about 7 days over 3 months is about 12,500. That's inclusive of HRDC and tax and all that. Now, some organizations who engage us to get their leaders certified, not because they want to do some work outside, but how do they get more and more team conversation going on in their own organization? Now we got a huge global tech headquarters that is getting their people certified in these areas. And I always say, let the IT AI do all the work for us. So what do human beings do? Sit down, have coffee, and have conversation about the future. In Team Coach International, our tagline is embrace high tech, focus on high touch. And I've been saying this for close to about 10 years now. Let the machine do the work. We sit down and have conversation. Because that I don't think machine can do. They can have all the detail, sort of data and all that, but that kind of a meaningful conversation. So yeah, right now, if you talk about facilitation, it's although we started in Malaysia about 20 years ago, more than 20 years ago, still people have not really grasped what is facilitation is all about. It is improving. People have conversation, but it'll be more useful you have the right tools and methods. Once there are people who join my program who is going to retire, who wants to take it as a business, yes, you can. Just like in any business, it's not, you cannot promote facilitation and coaching by sending out brochures or emails. It won't happen. It's all through referrals. So how do you get your referrals? By proving that, or somebody must talk about you, not you talk about yourself. And that's facilitation, right? Coaching is the same thing. A lot of people come and say, "Oh, Shan, I'm going to retire soon. I want to pick up coaching. I want to be a one-on-one coach." I say, yes, you can. But in Malaysia, I could be wrong, yeah? I don't think there's any coach in Malaysia who's actually only earning from coaching. Either they are supplementing their income through training and facilitation and all that. Like in my case, maybe 10% one-on-one coaching, the balance is from conducting workshops and learning workshops, yeah? So it all, how you position yourself, is come back to something that you probably could make money from. Teaching people how to market themselves. Something the problem with content people like me, we only good at content. When coming to selling now, it's not good.
Good. I have a job in the future too then.
Oh,
Good.
of course, absolutely. I mean, there are a lot of opportunities, but again, just like in anything, do people know? Do you have evidence? And that's one of the reasons my PhD research was on coaching, because we never had anyone in Malaysia doing research in coaching. And that's the reason why I did a research on, I wanted evidence, because people were saying, especially Asia, saying every time I I show the statistic, they say, this from the Western world, our culture, it does not suit. And I can't argue, right? And until I did my research, I said, I'm sorry, guys, this is the Malaysian evidence. Just like facilitation. Oh, in Malaysia or in Asia, people don't talk to each other. When the boss is in the workshop, people don't want to voice out you talk about collective conversation, it doesn't happen. I did not make noise. I did not debunk them, and did my research. And I started picking out data from 500,000 BC from China, the sultanates in this Malay archipelago, the Indian, South India, the system of Panchayat. All those were based on collective decision making. The sultans had their wise people. The emperors had theirs. So why are you telling me now this is a Western culture? And I say, please don't use culture as an excuse. If you don't want to move out from your comfort zone, and they're very typical, people want to use culture as an excuse. I said, no. I think the Eastern world already had collective decision-making processes. It's just that you don't know and you don't want to come out from your comfort zone. So yeah, there's a big, huge market there.
Love it. You spoke about the importance of building culture so that people can speak up. What happens when you've built a culture where people don't speak up and you're already entrenched in it? It's hard to move this inertia of silence and what you were saying, performative honesty that is actually not. So you don't have the truth. The systems have been like this for years and you want to switch. How do you turn the organization around as a coach and as a leader of those organizations that you created? So how do you make the change happen?
One of our biggest success story is creating the Center of Coaching Excellence, to making the Institute of Public Administration as the Center for Coaching Excellence for the whole government. Because one of the purpose or outcome is to create this open conversation. And we come to the stage where the government itself has come up with a circular on coaching, what coaching really is. For us, that's the biggest, trying to create a coaching culture in organization. Let's scale down. That is at the national level. Let's scale down in organization. We need to create the culture of open conversation. It does not happen overnight. We have done this in organization where the top stakeholders, the C-suits and all that, they are given either 1 day or 2 days about what coaching really is, showing them evidence. You don't talk without data. This is the evidence. And every time we do things, we constantly collect evidence. And then the bulk, the middle, which I call the spine of the organization, they also need to know what coaching is, what enabling process is. Now let's talk about coaching first, yeah? And then the bottom, just for conversation's sake, if I can break the organization into 3 segments, then the bottom part, what coaching really is, how it benefits all of us. Then from the middle, pick out people who are really passionate to be certified as coaches. And then create their own internal capabilities. Not to call third party outside people like me to come in and do all every time. No, not necessarily. You need to create the internal coaching capability, meaning creating maybe a coaching council within the organization. And that should not be HR's responsibility. It should be people, the ambassadors for coaching should be from all the departments. HR could probably, or L&D can probably coordinate, but they're not responsible. They select among themselves who are the champions. If not, it will come out as, this is HR's KPI. They're just trying to give us more work. So once that is established, and measure it. Measure it. One of the easiest is start with engagement survey if they have. 1 year, do all these coaching things, and then please measure it at the end of the year, next year, and see the results. Look at it and see. And I'm sure there are a lot of research already been done where it actually improves engagement. That is the beginning. People are willing to listen, because when you talk about coaching, it's all about, I'm here, it's not my agenda, I'm listening to you. So when everybody has got the same thing, when they want to clarify things, they use coaching conversations. Oh, we will communicate better next time. Yeah, really? What do you mean by communicate better? What is better? How can I see? What are the behaviors you're going to demonstrate that's showing me that you're communicating better? So once this kind of vague statements, which is flowing everywhere in organization, top to bottom, there's no meaning in conversation. People still end up having their own perception, the picture in their mind. I call it the mental, the screen, mental screen. If you close your eyes 30%, 30 degrees above mental screen, all our pictures are different. How can they be aligned? And then we have a big fight. Oh, I thought you said that. You thought I said that. Oh, we are minuted. Really? What did you mean it? Did it really capture what I really meant? Or, AI can capture anything you want, but is that what I really meant? We can speak the same English language, but perceptions can be different. So that's why things like coaching conversations help us to really understand or perceive what the person is really saying. And this is how, in a nutshell, how we can create a culture. Call it coaching culture. You can call it anything, but it's just to get people talking to each other with respect and with the intention of how am I adding value. Look, Matty, if a human being knows how I'm adding value to other person, my purpose is clear. When my purpose is clear, passion will follow, and very little room for negative conflicts.
Yeah, that's something I picked up early in the conversation, just add value. That's one of the first things you said. You just spoke about it, so I need to go a bit deeper. So you wrote the book on coaching with respect, RESPECT. So I imagine there's a framework there.
Yeah.
I didn't get to read the book before this meeting. I will, and maybe we can talk again after I go deeper.
Yeah.
But basically, can you tell us a bit about the book itself and why you felt it was needed to write it? Maybe a bit about the framework itself?
Let me get that book. I don't know whether you can. Yep, this way. Oh, it's upside down. So, okay. Here, actually, this is my second version. What I thought was there were one or two books written locally, but what I wanted to write is like, what you mentioned earlier, army officers becoming a coach, right? So the subtitle here below is Shan Moorthi's One Man's Journey from Captain to Coach, debugging the myth itself. And my journey in how I went into coaching and how I picked up coaching and the benefits of coaching. The framework respect itself. First of all, I wanted to use the word respect. It's not rocket science. This was, I think I wrote about 9 years ago. It's about whenever we are coaching someone, we need to respect the person who's in front of you. And you need to respect yourself as well. So the acronym respect is what actually it means is, first, R is actually the rapport building stage. Rapport building is creating the psychological safety, contracting phase, why I'm here, what I'm doing here, what are we going to do together, what are the do and don'ts. My role here is not to give you advice. My role here is not to tell you what to do. You're completely accountable for your own. I'm just here walking by your side and to ensure that you unleash your own potential. So all that is done during the rapport building and building the trust. And E stands for establishing future perfect. Basically visioning what you really want to do. What is your perfect future? Let's say if you say that, oh, Shan, I want to be a better leader. What is better leader for you? What do you see yourself? And after that was S. S is scaling down. We do the scaling down. Meaning, if, oh, Shan, I want to be a good leader. Okay, great. What do you see when you're already a good leader? Sometimes I use, in solution focus, we call it a miracle question. Matty, you're walking along the beach and you had a dream. And suddenly you found this angel coming to you and saying, Matty, you have been a good human being. What do you want from me? And you said, I want to be a good leader. And suddenly you wake up, next morning, you're a great leader. What can people see in you? What's so different in your behaviors that you're a good leader now? Then you explain your perfect future. Then I ask you the scaling question. If that was a perfect 10, and 1 means you're nowhere near, where are you right now? So it gives sort of perception. They say, oh, I'm 4 or 5 or whatever. Okay, that means there are great things that you are already doing. What are those? So in our school, we believe in solution-focused coaching, meaning we do not talk about problems. We don't talk about root cause. We always focus on what we want, not what we don't want. And that is the kind of mindset we are trying to promote everywhere we go. We respect the problem. We know what the problem is. Let's move forward. So,
Why not talk about the problem?
because another one is we try to tell them not to ask why question as well. Why question is banned in coaching in my school.
Not good for me, this coaching.
I'll tell you the reason why. Why we don't want to talk about the problem is, you see, there are certain factors that actually caused the problem in the past. Now we got no control over what happened in the past. And those factors might not exist now. Okay? We respect the problem. I'm not saying we are running away from the problem. No. We respect the problem. We know the problem exists. Okay, let's move on. Don't dwell in the problem. And there's a lot of research showing you focus on the problem, you're going to expand. You talk about the problem is going to expand. That's why I say, in my opinion, I don't have evidence, but I think that something like 60 to 70% of the meetings in organization is always about the problem, and people get demotivated and you lose all your juice, creative juice. And then the boss said, let's be creative. We need to move forward. Come up with some creative ideas. No, it won't happen. Creativity and innovation only happens when you're having fun, not when you're talking about problems. Right? So anyway, that's the reason.
Have you tried motorcycle or cycling?
Yeah.
I remember being taught if you look at the little stone on the road, your wheels are going to go there.
Oh, really? I think I've heard your mind just brings you there. So yeah. So if there's a problem, don't focus on the problem. And I can tell you a true story about solution focus.
Please, don't make me ask.
Okay. There's one village. This was one of my participants. He was in one of the United Nations agencies, and they were doing some work in one of the countries. And this village, remote village, their income, there is a small village. So their income comes from rearing chickens. So when he visits, as a UN person, he visits there, and then he went through our program on solution-focused coaching and all that. And then the team was, and in that particular village, you cannot predict the level of flood. Every time it floods, you can't predict. So even if they're constructing the chicken coop above, but it makes them difficult to rear the chickens, and also you still can't predict the flood. And the chickens die. So every time, if I ask you, what are they looking at? What are they trying to solve? How to not to kill the chickens? How to build a better waterproof chicken poo? No, it won't happen. What are they looking at? They're looking at problems. So when I ask this question in my classes, I use this as a case study. Oh, what are they looking at? What do they want? Oh, they want the chickens to be alive. I say the chicken is the problem. Oh, they want to build the chicken coop higher. No, the coop is the problem. What do they really want?
Food.
They want food. And in order to food is money, right?
Okay.
Income. Why looking at the problem? So when they start looking at, hey, actually what we need is income. Forget about the chicken. They start rearing ducks. Ducks can swim when that flood happens. Can you imagine the complete shift of mindset? And that's solution focus. Focus on what you want rather than what you don't want. That's been solution focus. And talking about the why. Every time you ask the why question, people become defensive. Why are you late? So I ask leaders, you ask this question. They say, yes, Shan. Why is the report late? Why are you late? Yes, I asked this question. I said, okay, let me ask you the question. How does that help you knowing why is he late? No, I want to know what happened. I said, how does that help you? How does that add value again? Huh? How does that add value to what you want? Well, I want to know. I said, what, do you want to give him a lift next morning? And then they say, what do you want? I want them to come on time to work. Focus on that. So then instead of asking, why are you late? Ask, what can you do to come to work early? Mary, we need to develop thinking leaders. I don't want to say this, can be sensitive. Let that group develop followers. We don't want followers. We want thinking leaders at every generation. And that's what these tools also help. Because AI is reducing, including mine. I think my thinking power is also reducing because I use AI. I try not to, but get addicted sometimes, right? So if that's happening, fine. But I still say I'm embracing high tech. Okay, so focusing on high tech, let's have these conversations without AI. So we are continuously improving our thinking skills, focusing on solutions, and that's why not the why. Now, come back to the respect model. So scaling, P stands for possible solutions. What are the possible solutions we have? Then edify and affirm, E, P-E, edify and affirm, where when you talk about, oh, if I ask you, Matty, in the past, How have you overcome those kind of challenges you just spoke to me? Oh, Shan, you know what I had a structure for it and I had some support and all that. Okay, how can those approaches help you now? What were you good at? So people like to talk about what they are good at. That gives them significance. And once they realize, hey, I am actually good, it provides them security. Two words for social emotional needs. I feel secure, I feel significant. I feel safe, I feel important. If these two social emotional needs are met, you're well inside. Then you're well in your mind, no stress. You will demonstrate the right behaviors of your personality. That is edifying and affirming. That happens throughout the process. And then confirming, the C is confirming what you want to do. And T is the timeline, when you want to do what. So that is the respect model. As long as even the coaching model framework has got divergent process and convergent process. Anyone can create any model. In my class, I always say, please, when you graduate from our certification program, have your own model. It's not rocket science. Now with ChatGPT, you can create thousands. Those days we didn't have. But what I wanted to focus on is the word respect itself. We need to respect another human being, no matter who he is or she is.
I love the fact that you are building other leaders. You were talking about it when you intervene in a difficult culture. You didn't say, look, work with me, and then I have this framework. It was like, okay, how can you get more coaches within your organization using the existing programs you have? But still, it's about having others, like building a grassroots movement. And again, what you just said is also the same kind of insight. Don't be a consumer of other people's models. Build your own, because I think intellectually it forces you to have ownership, or it brings you to have ownership, and it's much stronger when it comes from you than when you repeat someone else's.
Exactly.
So yeah, I love it. Yeah. You talked about being and not just doing. So being a coach or having the behaviors of a coach and a facilitator, you spoke about different aspects. I feel it's the hardest thing. It's like it requires metacognition, it requires awareness of the self, and then it requires deep work that takes a long time. Is there any way to go faster in that journey for everyone who's trying to do that? But as soon as you try to do the being thing, it's very hard, right? I know the sutra and the tantra from the Buddhism, where you either try to model something in the future, or little by little, incrementally, you build the skills slowly. What's the model that you recommend to people to be able to change themselves and embody the values and the behaviors that we want?
Okay, I try not to be an advisor or like a guru, you must do this and do that. I just share with them what I do. When I say being, number one, recognizing the talents that I've been blessed with by the Creator. What are the things? We all are different. And every one of us are in this world to offer something to someone else. We don't exist for ourselves. We are existing because, coming back to, we are adding value to someone. So my question to myself, Shan, is, Shan, because of your existence, how is your wife and your family benefiting from you? How is your community benefiting from you? How is your nation benefiting from you? How's your organization? How's your team benefiting from you? If you can answer those simple questions truthfully, then I think that you're going towards discovering your purpose. And when you discover that purpose, that's where you experience joy, not just happiness. That's where you experience joy. Now, coming back to in the coaching thing, same thing. You understand who you are. You understand what your belief and value system is. So when you're coaching someone, it is in your mindset, or whatever you say, whatever you think, and whatever you feel, you must be congruent. I'll share with you a Malay word for that. We must be congruent. You must be aligned. So when you are aligned, you are adding value to the person who's in front. You are what you are. That's the being part. If you feel that what you're doing and what you are is not aligned, for me, you're just cheating your client, not the person that you're coaching. So I have got this. It was an international program and overseas, and I said to this group of leaders, and I said that I thank the Western world for all these terminologies, management terminologies and all that that come out. Can I share something from Malaysia, Malay word from my country? And they say, hey, yeah, Shan, go with it. And I said, it's called Senget. It is spelled Senget, Senget. So they asked me, tell me, what is Senget? I said, in Malaysia, if the car is not aligned, it goes Senget. And then I get them to shout Senget and say, really? And it's the same thing with us. As leaders, as coaches, we must be aligned. What do we align? We need to align what we are thinking, our thoughts, our intention, and our behavior. If we are thinking A, our intention is B and we are doing C, we are saying it. So we need to be continuously aligned. It's not easy because sometimes our thoughts, I think I need Matty to do more work for me. So that's my intention, right? So my thoughts, and then it transfers to intention, and then I come to Matty, you're a great person, Matty, you're an amazing person, Matty. I love you, what you're doing and all that. I'm completely saying it. Because my intention after that, oh, Matty, you know what? Can you do me a favor? Can you do a bit of this? And I got a deadline. So once you're saying it, you're not being. And as you said, it's not easy, but constantly reflecting on it, because human beings are not perfect. That's number one fact. We are not perfect. We can never be perfect, but we can start the journey to perfection, but we will never be at the end of the day. But the journey itself can be very rewarding. And then that's why the factor of joy when you're aligned, when you do things and your intentions, and that for me is being. I don't know how people define it, but for me, being, not about the doing part. Who you are.
And the north is others, like who would you want to benefit?
Yeah.
It can be the world.
Yeah, you are sitting in front of your client. How is the client benefiting from you? Or if, let's say, the coaching session lasts for an hour, by 15 minutes, you're already taking, oh my God, faster finish. This guy is rambling and all these thoughts going on in your mind. You're completely useless in the coaching session. And you're not being truthful. You're there just for the money. Oh my God, believe me, short term.
I have one last question for you. This is probably the hardest one. Maybe I'll give you the context. So obviously, I do marketing for Brio. So I'm always talking with partners. And I was talking to an influencer. Her name is brioHR. You might know her. And basically, she was asking me, so Matty, what's your competitive advantage at brioHR? She was very direct, like, why you and not others? And so I gave you a few answers. And I'm not here to plug the product, so I'm not going to tell you the reasons why I think it's great. And basically, she tells me, okay, it's cool, but it's been 20 years we talk about those things. And so she was kind of saying, why again are we talking about the same crap? I think she said something like this. I took this question, I think it was end of the year last year, and I probably for 2 months I was thinking about it. And I'm wondering, in your opinion, why are we talking about the same leadership problems, the same system problems, the same behavioral problems than we've been talking for the past 50 years, 60 years, 70 years even? If you look at management theory, it's like the 50s, right? So why do you think it is?
I've got a PowerPoint slide which I show in my workshops about the 10 top leadership qualities by Forbes and also Harvard Business. And I asked some of the senior guys, have you seen this same thing 30, 40 years ago? They say, yeah. Meaning what? We are never there. We never reach there. As far as we are human beings, the same problem will exist. It all starts from ego. It all starts from we feeling insecure. It all starts from scarcity mindset. We always think that some people out there is coming to steal our job. Some people out there is coming to take our blessings. If we can believe that all our blessings out there, whether there are other people getting their own blessing, but remember, if you meant to have that blessing, you will have, but do your part. Nothing is going to just come and fall on your lap, no. And all this problem, if you look at it, the reason all comes back to self-centeredness. I'm not a team player. Reason? You're always looking at your agenda, what's in for you. What was the other common leadership thing? Oh, we need to build trust and respect. But do you understand what trust is and respect is in the first place? What you understand about trust and respect, is it the same understanding that your team has got? Or you have got a different perception of trust and respect? By just people coming and telling you, good morning, sir, and then you think that respect is there? No alignment. So coming back to why this problem exists is because everybody sometimes are just so focused on their own personal needs. And I say it again, we are not created for ourselves. And that, I'm sorry, but I don't mean that self-care is not important. Self-care is very important. Only when you're emotionally well and physiological well and psychological well, then you are an asset to the community. If not, you're not, I think. So anyway, and I've done programs for, I'm sure you have seen, we are in the Malaysian Book of Record for being the first organization to certify visually impaired coaches blind. And I learned so much from them. They got no biasness because they are not distracted by anything because they're totally blind. And when they focus, they really focus. And sometimes when I blindfold myself, teaching them, I could really feel how I can be less distracted. And we are distracted in so many ways now. And look at the social life itself. What you must be the best, you must be the winner. But what does winning means? What does winning means? So we've been bombarded while we are growing up. In schools, there's no such thing as losers. Everybody gets a prize. So we do not know what rejection means. So all this, when it comes back in an organizational stack, these are the behaviors that we demonstrate. And that's why we continuously need to remind ourselves. I was sharing for about a few hundred leaders in Sri Lanka. My last slide was in a glass dome. I said that this is a human colony in Mars. And I had a picture of Mars and there were human beings inside the glass dome and seated around. And I told them, you know what are they discussing? Same problem we are discussing on Earth now. Because we have, I think it's the selfishness and the scarcity mindset and all that. These are the ones that contribute to certain of the factors that cannot be solved. Not say cannot be solved. It's that people don't want to. They feel they are the most important creature in the world. Nobody else.
Thank you. Thank you for your wisdom. It's how do you choose when you have coach, doctor, and captain? I see you chose captain, so I guess it's to be controversial and to bring the question I asked at the beginning.
There's the rank you made. No, it's Captain Dr. Shan, right? Protocol wise. So people ask me something, the government says, Shan, which one do we use? Captain or doctor? So I think just use Shan. No, if we want to use one title, which one you'll choose? I said, probably captain. And doctor, I said, yeah, doctor, I spent about maybe 4 or 5 years doing research and all that, studying, and I got my doctorate. But captain, my God, I suffered. I suffered to get the to be commissioned, the training and all that. So that was more difficult. Not everybody can get. So I think maybe you just with this captain.
Captain, sounds good, Captain Shan. Anything that you would have wanted to share that you didn't today?
I just like to say that let's think all the ways how we can contribute to others, add value to others, because that's what we are here for. And always don't think about developing followers, develop thinking leaders, because we don't want to have a generation of zombies in the years to come.
Thank you. Yeah, with AI, it's even more important. Thank you. Where do people find you?
Okay. Well, my full name is Shan Moorthi, and could be a mouthful. So that's why I use Shan Moorthi. My LinkedIn is Captain Shan Moorthi with a C. My company website is www.teamcoach.com.my. That's my LinkedIn. And if you can type Shan Moorthi, I'll be there. Yeah.
Super. Thank you. I'll put your details in the description wherever we are. And thank you so much for taking the time. Really appreciate it.